Hey, over here! We often look at some of Scooby-Doo's most requested scariest villains, based on who was truly the most frightening spooker monster out there. One of the easily most requested and longest-lasting villains is one in particular that hails from the second season of the original series itself. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? That's right, airing originally October 3rd, 1970, we are finally getting into Season 2, Episode 4. Jeepers, it's the Creeper. His design is likely inspired by, well, the Creeper from Universal's 1946 film The House of Horrors, looking heavily like a caricature of the actor who portrayed that character. Likewise, the title of the episode is a play on the 1938 song Jeepers Creepers. This episode would actually be so iconic, the world's first computer virus, the Creeper, was actually named after this episode 1 year after it aired in 1971. And fittingly, as many have noticed, when Scooby-Doo happens to have a computer virus as the villain in the iconic 2001 film Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, the Creeper is one of the villains to appear in the final segment when several classic villains attack the gang. He's really the only representation of the original series like that here, as the others are all from the Scooby-Doo show, because as we've covered in this miniseries, it just happened to have the majority of the scariest villains. The episode featuring the Creeper was even one of the episodes voted on by fans to be included on the home video release Scooby-Doo's Greatest Mysteries in 1999. Even Sex and the City references the episode.
Can we have this conversation, please, without Scooby-Doo?
And in 2013, when Scooby-Doo teamed up with State Farm, we even saw another rendition of the episode.
Jeepers, it's the Creeper!
What do we do now? It's a mystery.
I know. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
That's not really a monster.
Creeper!
Mr. Carswell!
You meddling kids.
2004's Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed of course had the Creeper on display in the museum, and he was actually originally going to be one of the costumes brought to life, with a lot of test footage being produced, but unfortunately being one of the characters that got scrapped. One of the most interesting uses of the Creeper comes in 2010, from the 6th episode of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, my personal favorite incarnation of the franchise. Not only does the show give us a recreation of the events of the episode briefly, in the episode The Legend of Alice May is revealed to actually be Alice Carswell, daughter of Deacon Carswell, the Creeper from the original episode. One might say she's a little young to be his daughter, and there's actually reason for that. Spoilers for Mystery Incorporated. Initially, Alice May reveals that she used the Creeper's original costume to make her own, seeking revenge for her father. However, when her backpack is left, the gang uncover an old yearbook from their school, and find pictures of the original Mystery Incorporated group. Later, Ed Machine busts Alice May from jail, and we find that all of this was a lie. Carswell never even had a daughter. Rather, this was a setup by Mr. E to try and get the gang to investigate the disappearance of the original Mystery Incorporated. Most recently, in the 2021 Season 2 episode of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, the Creeper returns again in the episode A Haunt of 1,000 Voices, this time being revealed to be Kate Micucci, current voice actor of Velma. It's a very meta episode. And of course, this is easily one of the most merchandised episodes, beyond just books like this little golden book, as you can find just about any type of toy or figure or collector item for the Creeper, from your typical Funko Pop to the amazing 2025 Jada Toys adult collector figure. Not sponsored, I wish, but I will be buying that and every other figure they make for that series, every single one. I will buy them all, please. With all that being said, let's get into this episode and break down what's so scary about it. The episode opens up on a totally unassuming night as a bank guard drives around, noticing a tree seems to have fallen over and getting out to try and move it from the road. Immediately, we get our first look at the Creeper as he crawls out of the bushes, eerily walking toward us as the gang fade in. Tonight, they're on their way to a school dance at a barn, one of the very few instances of them actually referencing school or having a life during this original series. Their pleasant night is ruined, however, when they come upon the now ransacked car and bank guard from before, Daphne finding that he has a bump on his head. A mess in the car, and the guard delivers a message.
The flame will tell the Creeper.
Not only do they not know what this means, the paper he hands them seems to be blank. Scooby does, however, find the bank president's address, who happens to be nearby, so they decide to pay him a visit. Mr. Carswell is actually voiced by Casey Kasem, Shaggy's voice actor, and it's not every day you see him voice one of the villains. He assures them the bank guard will be fine in his care, and the sheriff is unfortunately out of town for a few hours. Film offers the little they know, the message and the blank paper, and Shaggy asks who this Creeper person is. Mr. Carswell explains he's a mysterious figure robbing the bank bank in the middle of the night, the doors and windows always being locked tight, supposing he's a phantom that can walk through walls. He tells them to go on, and we head over to the school dance, and get some very late 60s dancing. It's so funny that they just cut back to the same couple again. Why? Shaggy is not the best dancer, kicking the living hell out of Velma's foot, so Scooby takes over instead, giving very Mystery Incorporated.
I've been a wallflower before, but this is ridiculous.
I love how people say that story arc is out of nowhere when it's really got groundwork all over the original series if you look for it. In classic style, just like that show's dynamic, they dance over to the food. And honestly, this really is so like Mystery Incorporated. The same way Velma is just as snarky and often with a bad, rude attitude in the original here, despite people saying it's unique to Mystery Incorporated. It really does pull so much from the original that, might I say, casual viewers don't pick up on. Anyway, the creeper is creeping, growling as he reaches to flip the switch and leaves all the teens in the dark. Fred suggests they meet up at the malt shop to continue their night in classic fashion, and the boys volunteer to stay behind and clean up the food. Everyone else drives off, and the boys go to dump their trash, very unethical of them, where they find the stinky creeper, who chases them as they literally run over Velma while she tries to find her glasses. The boys point at their fright, the creeper walking ever closer, confirming himself to them who he is. Daphne somehow jumps to the conclusion that he wants the blank paper they found. I mean, she's right, but that's a bit of a stretch for what we're working with. She and Fred ditch Velma for the haystack, leaving her defenseless as she literally scoots away on her knees, which cannot feel good. Everyone runs off as we get our chase music, the song Daydreamin'.
I'm in love with an ostrich. All the neighbors complain and you see.
I'm in love with an ostrich indeed.
Walking down the street with my ostrich.
Walking down the street with my ostrich. Just really deep lyrics for this intense chase scene. Very classic and nostalgic song though. They end up involved in a dramatic horse chase, the boys coming loose and being thrown across the way as the creeper continues on. Fittingly, they hide with the chickens as he looks through, and I find it hard to believe the creeper bought that. Maybe the mask made it look better. Awkwardly, the egg Scooby sat on hatches, and the little baby thinks he is his mother now. Scooby trying to set it straight just ends with it barking, following them back. It seems the other three actually fared much worse, and Jesus, Velma has been through it at least a few times. Deciding they really need to solve this mystery, they find a new clue, uncovering a car hidden in the bushes, some torn up negatives of a photo inside that may or may not be crucial to solving this. Just as the boys think they're safe, the creeper creeps on back, the baby running over to bark at it and Scooby having to cradle it. Being a mother gives him enough courage to kick the creep in the knee and run off, while the other three hear the footsteps and get ready to bag the creeper, jumping into a fight that leaves them on top of the poor boys. Scooby explains how they've run into him all over, and they find footprints that they decide to follow. They're led to a gorge, but the planks that make up the bridge are all rolled up, so Fred bribes Scooby to crawl over, which ends up going to his new son. He goes ahead anyway, and this is already a nightmare, especially for anyone with a fear of heights, as he rushes over and releases the bridge. I still wouldn't trust it and go over it even in that state. In the cave, they find some smoke, and then this creepy guy who honestly was scarier than the creeper to me growing up.
I'm the hermit of the hills, and you're just in time to join me for dinner.
I'd never have guessed Frank Welker, Fred's voice actor, voiced him. The voice is absolutely frightening.
He doesn't look like the creeper.
He looks worse.
Velma is suspicious of him being the creeper, but either way, he's creepy enough on his own, so they decide to get out.
Come back! Come back!
Seriously, this freaked me the hell out way more than the creeper ever did when I was younger, dead serious. Collecting themselves, Fred is pretty sure that was the creeper, so they head back to go see the sheriff, but as they open the van door, they find the creeper already waiting for them. They all run back to the barn, determined to keep that paper safe.
You wouldn't hit somebody with glasses on, would you?
Damn, Velma is hard. They end up tripping the creep up a few times here and there, and they even have one of those classic moments that really do not happen very often as much as people remember. Quartered at the top, they jump into the hay, the creeper joining them, so Scooby turns on the hay bale machine, which promptly spits all of them, creeper included, out. Indeed, Bank President Carswell was the creeper all along, which means the gang carelessly left his victim with him earlier. As a result, the sheriff ended up finding the bank guard tied up in the basement. Pretty nasty work, and entirely avoidable, considering how suspicious bank presidents tend to be. And being such, he filled up his briefcase from the vault and left like normal, then showed back up dressed as the creeper that night to act like some spook was robbing the place instead. When the bank guard quietly installed the security camera, catching Carswell in the act, that meant the bank guard had to go. That's actually kind of dark though. If he wanted the bank guard to stay silent on this, was he either going to give the guy a payout, which would have questionable results, or was he going to, you know? When the gang told him about that paper they were given earlier, for which the bank guard left the cryptic message about how the flame will tell, he got onto what it must be. Thelma providing an example as the flame exposes the photograph of him in action. And that's that. The gang decide it's time to finally head to the malt shop, but they still have an extra passenger on board, so Scooby takes his son back to his real mother. Unfortunately, right as several more babies hatch and imprint on him. Congrats to the happy mother of 6. And that's the Creeper from Jeepers. It's the Creeper. It's easy to see why this villain was so requested, and why this episode continues to remain in the public consciousness so much, even getting a new collector figure in 2025. The Creeper's design clearly is ominous and works, otherwise people wouldn't remember him so much. The somewhat disfigured face and hunchback posture, making him seem off as much as the fact that he only ever says his name between grunts, if you can call that a name. For better or worse, it's kind of similar to the classic Universal horror monsters, from the Phantom of the Opera to the Man Who Laughs, or obviously the Hunchback, where so many of the monsters or terrors back then were inspired by people coming home from war disfigured and playing into real-life fear and feelings from the audience at the time. Even the Man Who Laughs often has green skin on posters, not unlike the Creeper here. Not to mention the Creeper inspiration itself. Whatever it is, it doesn't seem like it takes much for him to unsettle viewers. The episode is certainly boosted by the late appearance of the Hermit far into the episode, not only providing a red herring to try and throw us off the bank president, but just being such an ominous character on his own that you absolutely would want to run away from, even if he isn't the Creeper, especially just based on that voice alone. His voice is one of the things that stick with me the most from classic Scooby. Carswell otherwise is kind of obvious, but the Hermit at least tries to throw us off the scent, though it does feel like kind of a random detour, given that the Hermit isn't actually relevant to anything else in the episode. He's literally just some guy that happens to live in a cave nearby. He's a really scary guy though. This is definitely one of the most violent episodes of the series, the guard being knocked out and staying unconscious, then being tied up, and who knows what was going to happen to him after, and all of the crashing and bashing of the Creeper throughout. The episode really stands out also because of the setting, so much of it taking place at this school dance in the barn, as you really just never see the gang getting to have fun like normal teens with classmates like this. It's highly unusual and definitely memorable, the kind of thing that sort of makes you unconsciously think you might see it more often than you really do, especially as a kid. And again, the pairings here are very much a thing even if they don't get into it. Just saying. The baby chick doesn't really add anything. You could cut that out of the episode and you wouldn't miss a single thing, but it's still pretty cute, I guess. Ultimately, I wouldn't necessarily say the Creeper has one of the scariest designs personally, but it's clear that it definitely does for a lot of others, or that at least his episode and presence will forever linger. So it really does make sense that so many episodes and movies pull him when they need to reference a classic villain from the original series, and I suspect we will continue to see him be pulled for references or merchandise for as long as Scooby exists. I think that's about all I have to say on him though, so we'll leave it there. I have a ton of other videos of some of the scariest villains of Scooby-Doo though. There's even a playlist you'll find at the end of this video, so check that out if you want to get into some of the other favorites that are most requested. And so many other videos like covering every episode of the new Scooby-Doo movies, with a new video of that coming soon. Don't miss it, or do. Maybe you have something important that day. However it works out. Bye!